Here we are once again at the famous Binion's Horseshoe Casino. Since 1970, poker players from every state in the United States and many different countries have gathered here at the Horseshoe to watch the world's largest gaming tournament. In 1949, high-stakes gambler Nick the Greek Gondolas approached Benny Binion, owner of the Horseshoe Casino, with a special challenge, a high-stakes poker marathon. Benny called on his friend and professional poker player Johnny Morse to participate. The game lasted 5 months with breaks only for sleep. Benny was amazed at the attention the event received. Hundreds of people gathered to watch. In 1970, Benny decided to recreate this excitement. He began the battle of the poker giants, a battle that would see who would reign as the world champion. The World Series of Poker has come a long way since those early years.
Greatest tournament in the world. I mean, it's this is where it's all at.
This is the Cadillac, the limousine of poker. There's no better tournament than the World Series of the Horseshoe.
This is the largest poker event in the world. This year we did over $10 million in total prize money.
Today, players consist of men and women from all over the world.
I started playing poker when I was a kid. With my brother, we started playing for matchsticks and pennies, and I was about 4 years old, 3 years old, and I just escalated from there.
G'day folks, my name is Crocodile Bill. I'm from the down under country of Australia. Well, I've come over from Australia in the first year was 89, and I've come every single year after that, because come over the World Series is the best tournament in the world, folks. This is the Cadillac, the limousine of poker.
From every walk of life.
Tom Franklin, they call me Captain. Well, I'm a pilot, small plane, but more, I think the reason I got the handle is if I'm at a game, I always control pots and stuff, make sure everything's correctly, kind of like the leader of the table. So they call me the captain of the table, so that's where I got the handle. I play in this every single year, and I've never won a World Series title. I've won 38 major events, but never the World Series. So that's something I'm striving for today.
I originally was born in Poland, and I survived the Holocaust. And after the war, I became primarily a toy inventor. And I'm still a toy inventor, but I like poker.
From the old pro to the new kid on the block.
My name is Roger Helms. I'm from Freer, Texas. This is the third time I've played in this tournament, but I play poker in Freer with a bunch of friends, and basically I'm a full-time amateur.
I'm a professional poker player. This is what I do for a living. The tournament's the greatest. What can you say? It's a premier tournament, and it gets you emotionally excited by playing it versus any other tournament. There's no comparison.
Hey, my name is Russ Hamilton. I played the tournament last year. I won it. It was $1 million. It's the greatest feeling in the world. And whoever wins it this year, they're going to have the same feeling, and they're going to keep it for 1 year, and then it's going to last the rest of their life.
This week, thousands of poker players have descended on the Horseshoe with the hope of becoming the next world champion. The week started with 273 players, and now it's down to 27 players. And here's Jim Albrecht, the tournament director. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Dick.
Now tell me, how did it get from 273 down to 27?
Well, Dick, that happens because every 2 hours we raise the antes and the blinds. This is a normal freeze-out tournament, which means when you're out of money, you're out of the competition. You can't buy in again. So every 2 hours we increase the cost to not play a hand. You have to get in, you have to get involved.
How has the action been?
Actually, they've been playing a little bit cautious. People have been very careful in the second day. I think it's going to go a little bit late the third day, and we probably will have some very serious action on the final day.
At this point, who would you say is favored right now at this moment?
A lot of good poker talent out there. I guess if I had to pick a few for you, maybe Dan Harrington, he's got a good chip position. Hamid Desmalchi, 1992 world champion. And maybe throw in for good measure a lady, Barbara Enright. She's doing very well.
There are a lot of poker tournaments, but there's nothing this size. Give me the numbers. What are they?
It's very true. This is the largest poker event in the world. This year we did over $10 million in total prize money. Since the tournament began in 1970, we've done over 93 million, Dick.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Jim. And now let's go to Jack McClellan on this third day before the $1 million championship.
Thank you, Dick. We're now down to the final 18 players, our final two tables in this year's 1995 World Series of Poker. First place in this event is going to be $1 million. We started out 2 days ago on Monday with 273 players, a new world's record. Total prize money in this event alone is $2,730,000. On table one in the number one seat, we have Dan Harrington with about $450,000 in chips. Number two seat, Roger Helms with $50,000. Number three seat, Dolph Arnold with $125,000. Four seat, Crocodile Bill with about $60,000. Number five seat, Barbara Enright with $150,000. Brent Carter has around $70,000. James Hayes, $300,000. Henry Orenstein, $180,000. Number 9 seat, Gary Callum with $25,000. On table number 2, Mike Cook, a little over $100,000. John Esposito, $50,000. Roger Moore with $50,000. Dick Carson with $35,000. Captain Tom Franklin, $190,000. Chuck Thompson, $75,000. Hamid Dastmalchi, $200,000. Howard Goldfarb, $350,000. Freddie Deeb, $70,000. Now back to you, Dick.
So who will make it to the final day? Who will win the $1 million purse and the title as the 1995 World Series Poker Champion? We'll find out.
Welcome to the West, here in Las Vegas, Nevada for the 1995 World Series of Poker, sponsored by the Binion's Horseshoe Casino. Today, these 6 finalists will battle for the World Series title and $1 million in cash. Now, for the call of the game, here's Dick Van Patten.
Hi everybody, I'm Dick Van Patten, and I'm here at Binion's Horseshoe Casino to witness the finals of the World Series of Poker, where the winner is going to walk off with $1 million. That's right, it's the largest poker tournament in the world. Now, in the beginning of the week, we started off with 273 players, I believe, and they all qualified, and now after 3 days of playing, we're down to 6 players, the final 6, because 6 is enough. Sounds vaguely familiar. Anyway, these 6 players, they're 5 men and 1 woman, and this is the first time in 26 years that a lady has gotten to the finals. Now, that's not because ladies don't play poker as well as men, it's just because not as many play poker as men. Anyway, this lady is Barbara Enright, and she's got a big rooting crowd here. A lot of people rooting for Barbara Enright. You're going to see a very exciting game today because there's a lot of elements in it. There's a lot of drama, there's a lot of skill, there's a lot of intelligence, and there's also a lot of luck. And you're going to see all of that today. And now I want to turn you over to the tournament director, Jim Albrecht. Hi, Jim.
Thank you, Dick. The game we're playing today is No Limit Texas Hold'em. The No Limit means you can bet anything you want, anytime you want. We're going to get a 2-card starting hand. Go ahead and give us 2 cards. Everyone receives 2 cards. In this case, we've got a king and a queen, 2 big cards. That's a very nice starting hand. We're also suited. We could make a flush. After a round of betting, we turn up the flop. That's 3 cards in the middle. Everyone uses these 3 cards. Another round of betting. Again, anyone can bet any amount they want, anytime they want. 4th Street will come. In this case, we got no help. We had a flush draw. We've got 4 hearts. We've got a pair of queens. No help with a deuce. Last and final card, we made a flush on this hand. It's a very nice hand. There's not one contestant here that wouldn't like to have this hand at the final table. The chips we'll be using for play are $1,000 chips. That's the blue ones. $5,000 chips. That's the lavender ones. And the gold chips are worth $10,000.
You're watching the 1995 World Series of Poker from Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll return right after these messages. Welcome back to Binion's Horseshoe Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Now, I know that you're all very anxious to meet these final 6 players because the final 6 are always very interesting people. And here to introduce them to you is my friend, Jack McClellan. Jack?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jack McClellan. I'd like to introduce you to the final table of the 1995 World Series of Poker. Our current tournament leader is Howard Goldfarb, a 33-year-old businessman from Toronto, Canada. Howard's starting out today with $1,194,000 in chips. He has career earnings here at the World Series of $16,800, and this is his second year of playing poker. Dan Harrington of Downey, California is currently in second place with $532,000 in chips. He won his first career title here at the World Series 6 days ago. He has career earnings of over $297,000 at the World Series. In third place is Brent Carter from Oak Park, Illinois. Brent's starting out with $319,000 in chips. He also has 2 former World Series titles and career earnings of over $428,000. Our fourth place at the moment is Chuck Thompson with $254,000 in chips. Chuck's a 56-year-old professional player from Santa Cruz, California. He has career earnings in excess of $45,000 here at the World Series. In fifth place right now with $232,000 is 1992 world champion Omid Dostmalchi. Omid right now currently stands as number 6 on the all-time money-winning list at the World Series with $1,424,000 in earnings. If Omid should win today, he would become number 1 all-time at the World Series. And last but certainly not least, starting out with $199,000 in chips today, we have Barbara Enright from Oceanside, California. Barbara is the all-time leading Lady Money winner in the history of poker. Today, if she should win, she would be the first Lady Millionaire. Barbara Enright from Oceanside, California, starting with $199,000 in chips. Okay, players, we're starting out with a $2,000 ante, $10,000 and $20,000 blind. Please take your seats.
Jim, but after the introductions, you could tell that the crowd is really rooting for Barbara Enright.
Yes, she's a clear favorite.
All right, Jim, let's take a look at the prize amounts. 6th place is worth $86,500. 5th place, $114,180. 4th place, $173,000. 3rd place, $302,750. And the runner-up receives $519,000. And the champion will receive $1 million in cash. I tell you, Jim, I'm very excited to see Barbara Enright sitting at the table. She has a tremendous rooting section, and I'm interested to see how she plays against the competition.
Barbara Enright goes all in for $200,000.
She moves them fast. Howard looks like he's thinking about this. Waiting for a count on the chips.
I just don't want to get booed out of the place, Barbara, in case I walk out.
Howard says he doesn't want to be unpopular, so he's not going to call her.
Right. He knows that her rooting section would boo him.
I don't want to get booed out.
Barbara wins.
Normal 2 aces, yes.
You know, Jim, from the 273 players who began the tournament, we are down to these final 6, and here they are.
Dan Harrington opens spot for $150,000.
Well, this is it.
Uh-oh, there goes
Chuck Thompson goes all in, about $175,000.
Okay. Dan cannot be hurt too badly in this confrontation, but Chuck can
Hamid and Howard fold.
Chuck can be broke.
174?
He's calling.
174. Dan is going to call. Naturally, he's got just a couple thousand short.
$390,000 pot.
Will they turn their cards up so we can see?
We're going to get a look at the hands in just a second here.
Chuck has 2 tens. Dan has ace queen of clubs. $390,000 pot.
Pretty even confrontation. 2 tens, a very slight favorite over the.
Flop comes king 7 tray. Chuck still got the best hand with 2 tens. Next card's an 8.
Chuck's still in there.
Final card's a 9. Chuck wins the hand with 2 tens. Chuck Thompson now has $390,000 in chips.
Don't go anywhere. There's a lot more action coming up, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to the highest stakes poker tournament in the world. Now, back to the action.
Rubber Enright cooling off for the fan as action heats up at the World Series of Poker. Rubber Enright's now in the big blind. Action goes to Hamid. He's out. Howard's out. Dan's going to play. Looks like about 60,000. No.
Dan opens for 120,000. Chuck Thompson raises.
120,000. Chuck Thompson comes over the top, moving all in. And he's going to get called.
Dan calls.
Same 2 men again.
Yeah. I think Dan's got him here. He called pretty quick.
2 kings? Yeah.
Dan says he has 2 kings. They haven't turned the cards up yet. They will turn them up for the audience. First, they want to count down the chips, make sure the money's right.
He has 2 kings, he said?
Dan has said that he has 2 kings, yes.
And probably Chuck has an ace, 1 ace.
$750,000 pot.
Chuck did not like that announcement that he's got 2 kings.
Dan's got 2 kings. Chuck has ace queen.
Ace queen. He needs an ace.
$750,000 pot.
Oh boy, this is exciting.
Going to need some help, or Chuck Thompson will be
2 kings against ace queen.
All right. No
Flop
help.
comes 7, 7, 6.
No help for Chuck on the flop.
Dan's got the best hand with kings.
Deuce.
Next card's deuce.
So he needs an ace,
Chuck needs an ace.
Got to
stay
be
in
an
the
ace.
tournament.
Got to be an ace, or he's going to be our 6th place finisher.
Final card's a trade. Dan
Did not
Harrington
come.
wins the hand. Has $800,000 in chips. Chuck Thompson becomes our 6th place winner, winning $86,500.
We're here with Chuck Thompson, who just got beat with an ace queen against a pair of kings. Chuck, earlier in the game, about 10 minutes ago, you said that you're not going to go broke on an ace queen, and then you wound up going broke on an ace queen.
I know. That's what I told my friend Oklahoma Johnny Hale. I wouldn't go broke on an ace queen, but it is a very good hand, and most of these stabs that they're making at the blinds, like I was myself, or ace queen is going to be the best hand. Right. But I didn't pick up on the fact that Dan had been opening for much more than that every hand except that one. And he opened for less chips, and all of a sudden it dawned on me as I moved in
he didn't want to lose you.
that he was trapping me, and I felt the trap. As soon as he said I'm coming, well then I knew I'd been trapped.
Jen, did you have anything to say?
Congratulations.
Well, thank you,
86,500, our 6th place finisher, and a good representative from Garden City Casino.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen.
It was a pleasure to have you.
Hamid's all in now. A little over 100,000.
Our former champion is all in if anybody calls him.
What's that?
Dan is asking for a chip count. We may get a call here.
Well, because
Howard folds. 92,000 more to Dan Harrington.
but that's not going to hurt Dan Harrington even if he loses.
No,
He's got such a big bankroll. And he could knock a player out. I would almost call if I were Harrington.
He can certainly call with a lesser hand than short
Right.
stack would have to.
Does-
Right.
yeah,
Dan
he can-
calls.
A lot more
He
comfortable.
can afford to gamble, and I'm right.
Looks like
$446,000 pot.
here.
Turn 'em up, guys.
Trump the cards.
Hamid has Jack 10 of clubs. Dan has Jack Trey offsuit.
Jack Trey he called with?
You were right. He didn't need much at all.
Flop comes Queen 7 deuce.
Diamonds.
Next card's a 5. Final card's a 4. Hamid wins a hand with the Jack 10 high.
Holy mackerel.
Well, pressure really comes down on Barbara Enright.
Yeah, she's low.
Low on
total
chips.
pole.
She's in the big blind. Very little left. She could probably fade another round or two. But not much more than that. Sometime in the next 10 hands, she's going to have to make a move. Fold it around to Brent. He's going to play. She moves all in.
Well, you said she had to make a
Moves
move.
all in. He calls immediately.
Okay, here we go. The crowd is rooting for
Okay, Barbara's all in now against Brent.
But the rest of the table is rooting against Barbara, but the crowd is rooting.
Barbara's got 2 8s. And Brent.
5 of diamonds.
Total 75.
$162,000 pot. Barbara's all in against Brent. Barbara's got 2 8s. Brent has 6 trade diamonds.
6 trade diamonds. Barbara is a huge favorite in the spot.
Oh boy, and how?
Brent just calling to try to knock.
Don't
Flop comes 6 tray queen. Brent flops 6s in a tray.
Oh my God, that was a horrible beat. 6 tray.
Next card's a 9.
Barbara needs
an 8, a
Barbara
9,
needs-
or a queen to stay in a tournament.
8, 9, or queen Barbara needs, or she is going to be.
Final card's an ace. Brent Carter wins a hand with 6s
What
in
a
a tray.
way to go.
Barbara Enright wins $114,180.
Here at the World Series.
She is the all-time leading lady money winner here at the World Series with $170,960. Give her a nice hand.
Huge favorite.
When we return, we'll speak to Barbara Enright right after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada.
Barbara, I'm really feel bad. That was one of the most awful beats I've ever seen. You were a tremendous favorite going in there with a pair of 8s wired. He had nothing, a 3 and a 6.
I wasn't that confident when it was him that was in the pot with me. He's held over me for years.
No kidding. He's like, I got
No
a
matter
hex.
what.
That can happen, I know.
Right. Thank
Vic, this
you.
is one of the sweetest ladies in the poker circuit, and everyone out here was rooting for her.
Yeah.
It's a terrible way to go out, but we're proud of you. You've made the highest finish ever at the World Series of Poker.
I'm proud for what I did.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, with Barbara Enright out of the tournament, let's look at the standings for our last 4 players. In first place is Howard Goldfarb with $1,300,000 in chips. Second, Dan Harrington with $900,000, Brent Carter $400,000, and Hamid Desmalchi with $130,000.
10 and $20,000 mandatory blind bets. This time made by Brent Carter and Hamid Desmalchi. Action goes to Howard Goldfarb from Canada. And Dan is out, and Brent's going to make a raise. He's betting enough to set in. Hamid Desmalchi, the 1992 world champion.
$50,000.
Looks like it's going to be a fold. but maybe not. Brent has 2 large cards. He's a slight favorite.
6-5 favorite, like?
About 6-5, yeah. 2 large cards. That's what we're looking at here. And Hamid is just trying to figure out how many more blinds he can look at.
Right. He's showing
his hand to the audience and throwing it away.
I'd love to know what he threw away.
Hamid folds, Brent wins a hand.
I didn't see it.
Hamid now with a little over 100,000.
10,000 blinds.
He's going to move in. Just a few rounds of the blinds and he would be gone.
Here comes Harrington.
Hamid's all in now. Dan Harrington calls.
Dan cannot be hurt with this.
Oh, no.
Brent folds.
Okay, I'm very anxious to see what they have.
Even up the money first, and then we'll get a look at their hands.
$136,000 bet. $302,000 pot.
Okay.
Hamid is smiling.
Turn them up, guys.
He's got a king.
Hamid has king 5 offsuit. Dan has ace 10.
Ace 10. Dan is the
Ace 10
favorite.
against king 5.
He didn't want to fade those blinds again. A couple more rounds of the blinds he was going to be on. He was hoping to just pick up the pot. Now he's a pretty big dog. He needs a king.
Flop comes king, queen, jack. Dan flops a straight. Hamid needs 2 running diamonds or 2 runners for
Only
full
2
house.
diamonds can save Hamid Desmalchi in this spot. Dan flops the straight.
Next card's a 9 of hearts. Dan Harrington's going to win the hand with an ace high
Hamid
straight.
is going to be out. He'll be up here to see us.
1992 world champion Hamid Desmalchi is our 4th place finisher. He wins $173,000 and moves into number 3 spot on the all-time money-winning list here at the World Series, behind only Johnny Chan and Phil Hellmuth.
We're going to take a break now, but we will be back.
Welcome back to the highest stakes poker tournament in the world.
Hamid,
Hi,
that was a tough beat. You raised with the king 5, I think it was, wasn't it?
Well, I only looked at one card, king, and when you look at one card, you play one card poker, you get you get punished.
Hamid, why don't you give us a little analysis of the final table here? The last 3 players. Tell us a little bit about how you feel they play.
Well, Brad is under pressure right now because he doesn't have too much chips. Howard, he looks inexperienced. He raises with too many bad hands. And Danny is going to pick him up one of these hands. He's going to start taking flops with him and outplay him after the flop.
You've moved to the third all-time money winner here at the World Series for lifetime earnings. You pick up another $173,000 today. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You were terrific. A pleasure to watch you.
At this point, Howard and Dan Harrington can both take advantage of the fact that they know the other one doesn't want to play with them. So they will risk $100,000 here and there just to pick up the blinds.
Yeah.
Knowing that they won't get called unless it's an extraordinary hand.
He's calling you 10,000 now.
And Dan's going to call Brent Carter. Can't get hurt too badly. He's going
Dan opens a pot for 300,000. Brent moves all in. $282,000 bet.
And he's calling?
$573,000 pot.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Okay.
This could be the end of Brent. And it can't hurt Harrington, even if he loses.
Now it costs him a little less than a third of his time.
Dan has ace 10.
Ace 10 again.
Brent has ace 10.
Oh, they both have the same hand? Unless one of them makes a flush here.
You got me down to a science.
It's going to be a
They would
split
need
pot.
four
Flop
suits.
comes
Exactly.
king 9-5 offsuit. This could be a split pot.
It will be a split pot.
Oh, yeah, ace!
Oh boy, Howard's very relaxed. He's eating while he's playing.
Gotta keep the chocolate locks on the ace.
Never seen anyone hit the final table with less pressure for the first time.
I know, he's eating everything and laughing and choking.
Brent's all in.
This could be the hand. All in again. He's going to get called by our chip leader.
Howard's calling him.
Check out your old friendly
Howard has ace-10 offsuit. Brent has 2 red 6s.
Pair against 2 overcards. And here comes the flop.
Flop comes king, 9, jack.
King, 9,
Brent's
jack.
got the best hand with 6s.
Queen could actually make a straight for Howard.
You know, I guess Howard really needs an ace, queen, or 10 to win this pot.
Final card's a 7.
Doesn't come.
Brent wins the hand with 2 6s.
Brent doubles up to our chip leader, Howard Goldfarb from Canada. Very big hand for Brent Carter. Could be the turning point. Okay, cards go out again. Brent Carter's got the big blind. He was just doubled up.
I wonder if Dan Harrington has as much money now as Howard.
He's very close. I think Harrington's actually in the lead by just a few $1,000s. Now it's a lot more costly at this point for the players to
get in with Brent.
To get involved with Brent because
he can hurt them now.
Exactly. Well, he's got the ability at this point to reverse the positions on them.
Yeah.
He's got $500,000. If they lose $500,000, he has the million. They're in his current chip position. So there's going to be a little bit more caution now.
Howard Goldfarb is more interested in his lunch than the game. He's very most relaxed player I've ever seen.
He's more relaxed than these 2 professionals.
He's gobbling up his lunch.
I mean, you can see it in their faces. You can actually sense that Dan Harrington really did not like the way that hand turned out. He was hoping to see Brent Carter.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
We'll be right back right after this.
Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, back to the action.
Oh boy, there's a real tension building between Dan and Howard.
Howard opens for 200,000.
You know what? I may have to take back what I said about these 2 guys not going up against each other.
Dan Harrington makes it 615,000.
Brent Carter gets out of the way. Big decision for the Canadian Howard Goldfarb. 400,000 more. If he calls and loses, he'll be the short stack.
Yeah.
If he calls and wins,
he'll have everybody at his mercy.
Yes. Now we see the serious side of Howard Goldfarb.
Yeah, right. He's like
This is what makes for...
It's the experienced poker player making the big bet into the ball that's just been playing for 2 years. Oh, he threw it away.
Howard folds. Dan Harrington wins the pot.
And Dan does not want him to see what he had. And he's very careful to hold his cards down till the dealer grabs them.
Too serious now.
Yeah, but these poker players, they have a sixth sense, you know. They're not just ordinary people. They have that something extra.
Intuition, I guess they call it.
Intuition and common sense. A lot of common horse sense they have.
The play actually changes as the day goes on, as these players get to know each other better.
Yeah.
It's the early rounds. You're trying to get a feel for your opponent, how he plays, what he does, how much he'll raise.
$69,000 pop between Howard and Dan. Ace deuce tray. Six, 2 diamonds on board.
Very small pot between Howard.
They both check though, right?
Dan bet 60,000.
On 4th Street, he's
Howard
going to
folds,
16,
Dan
pick it
Harrington
up.
wins the pot.
60,000. I think he wanted them. Well, you said yesterday that aces usually win small pots and lose the big pots. Because they get outdrawn, I guess, huh?
Once you get outdrawn with the aces, if you get locked on with them, it can cost you a lot of money.
Grant calls 30,000. Howard calls 30,000. $99,000 pot.
All three of them are in the hand. This should be interesting.
First time we've seen this today. All three players
all three players in the hand.
are
I like
in the
that.
hand.
2, 4, 9.
9, 4 deuce, 2 clubs.
Gee, they're terrible flop. I don't think that'd help anybody.
Dan says it did.
Dan bets 50,000.
Maybe on 4
Dan Harrington
clubs.
wins the pot.
4 clubs. Maybe a pair bigger than
You
a
got a
nine.
50-50 chance of making a flush.
Dan Harrington now has about 1.7 million in chips. Howard a little over 700,000. Grant about 300,000.
You know, the 3 players that went in with the largest amount of chips are still remaining. Maybe it's just coincidental.
That's what tends to happen in these. It's hard
Except that year that Glenn Cozen came in second. And
Exactly.
He was the low man for a while.
It's a tremendous advantage having those chips to work with.
Yeah.
To be able to get in there and make a few little minor mistakes and still be in action.
Right. It's like a cushion.
Howard opens the pot for 60,000. Grant calls. $139,000 pot. 865 with 2 hearts.
Possible straight. Well, I'd love to have a 7-9 now.
7-9 of hearts would be very pretty.
Oh.
Brent's going all in.
He says he doesn't have a straight up. Otherwise, he wouldn't bet that he wouldn't.
Like about
He could have a
230,000.
small set. He could have a flush draw.
Howard's calling him.
He's going to get called. And
Well,
Dan,
this is the most exciting hand so far, I guess.
Dan Harrington has to love it.
This could guarantee Dan Harrington a half a
Okay,
million.
with ace 4 of hearts. Howard has the ace 4 of hearts.
236.
So he's got the flush draw. Brent Carter.
$611,000 pot. Howard has
Queen of
ace 4
spades.
hearts. He's got a flush draw and a straight draw. Brent's got a king, queen of spades.
Howard's got a very big hand.
He's a king or a queen with no heart.
He was bluffing. He didn't think
Howard's
Howard's going to win the
gold
pot.
club is going to win the hand. Brent Carter is going to be our 3rd place finisher.
Very good call by Howard. Very big hand. With a flush draw, straight draw, he had everything working.
Brent, you won $300,000, but you feel like a loser, but really you're not. $300,000, that's great.
Well, that's a big day.
It's a wonderful hit. And you had the king and queen of spades, right?
Right.
And you bet them strong. And if he hadn't had 4 hearts, or the 2 hearts, the ace of hearts or the other heart, I guess he probably wouldn't have called.
Well, that's a hand I don't like playing, and I was trapped in the big blind, and I made a mistake.
Jim, what did you think of that hand?
Well, it's clear that if Howard hadn't had some sort of a hand, Brent was going to win the pot right there.
Right.
It's not too bad a spot to put your money in because it didn't look like the flop helped either player. I'm sure you weren't real happy when he started going for his chips.
Well, I knew I made a bad mistake because he raised that pot a little bit, and I needed to actually, hit the flop pretty well to continue to play the hand. I usually fold king queen.
Great job, Brent. 300,000 more.
Lots more action still to come here at Binion's Horseshoe Casino as the World Series of Poker continues right after these messages. Welcome back to Binion's Horseshoe Casino and the 1995 World Series of Poker.
Guess what's coming in right now?
I think I have an idea.
$1 million in cash. Wow. Here comes the $1 million, right? There's something fascinating about seeing $1 million. And, in the old days, in the movies, they weren't allowed to photograph cash, real cash like that. They would have to use foreign money. But they've rescinded that law, and now you can photograph real United States currency. And I tell you, it's fascinating.
And there it is. Dick, it's not theoretical anymore. There it is. There's the cash. We're not just looking at a few stacks of chips.
Yeah. Can you believe it? We're down to two men, an American and a Canadian. An American from California and a Canadian from Toronto, Canada.
That's right. For my money, I'll tell you, Dick, this is where it really gets interesting. Both these guys are playing for more money than they've ever played for in their life. They've got to be feeling the pressure. They've been doing this for 4 days. The money's on the table. They can see it. They know what they're playing for. This has got to be good.
Dan calls 30,000.
So we're going to get a flop now, right?
Howard raises 150,000.
No.
He's going to call, at least.
Dan calls $150,000 raise.
Comes the flop.
$366,000 pot. Jack 7-4 with 2 diamonds.
That might not have helped either one.
Howard checks.
Howard checks.
Dan bets 400,000.
He's showing weakness. Howard's going to bet 400,000.
Howard folds. Dan Harrington wins the toss.
Oh boy, I tell you, I would be a nervous wreck if I had to play with all that money on the table, knowing that there's a chance that if I do everything right, I can win all that cash, and if I do something wrong, I'll blow it all. Oh gosh.
It is exciting to see these two men and all that cash on the table. And all these spectators
$66,000
watching.
pot. King 6 tray of diamonds.
Possible flush.
Dan checks.
Now Dan checks. Howard checks behind him.
Another 6.
They're both afraid of a flush.
Now the board's pairing.
Now they got a lot to be afraid of.
Dan bets 70,000.
This is interesting. He says he's not afraid of a flush. Is he?
I don't think I'd want to call him.
Howard calls 70,000.
He could have a full house or even 4-6. No, he wouldn't have 4 6s. He could have a full house though.
Probably not looking at that big a hand.
Dan checks.
Don't think either one of them has a flush at this point. We're looking at much smaller hands than that.
But why would he have bet into the? Oh, Howard bets now.
Howard bets looks like about 120,000.
Dan's looking at it. He may have something here.
Well, there's flushes, full houses, 4 of a kind possibilities.
Dan folds.
Gee. Don't go anywhere. There's a lot more action coming up, so stay tuned. We're getting very close to the $1 million right now. I wonder who's going to win.
Dan Harrington now has about 1,830,000. Howard has about 900,000.
Taking flops now, relatively small bets before the flop. Yeah. They're looking at some cards before they
King
get their
10,
money
7, 2
involved.
hearts.
And that's a fairly dangerous flop there. Could be flush draws, straight draws.
They both
6.
checked. Possible straight.
Dan bets 50,000. Howard raises 150,000.
He makes it 200.
$200,000 bet.
You may have the straight. And he doesn't want him to catch a flush.
He checked on the flop.
Yeah, well, he would check with low cards. That's why he could have a straight. You know?
Possibility. I think it's more likely to have a hand like 2 pair.
8, 9. Oh, yeah.
And maybe check on the flop, looking for to set the trap. Oh, he's going to get raised.
Dan re-raises.
He's saying I have a straight. The best hand out there now is a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. An 8, 9 in the hole is a cinch.
I think we're looking
Dan
at a
raises
set.
600,000 more.
I think we're looking at 3 of a kind here.
You don't think there's an 8, 9?
No, I don't at this point.
You mean that Dan would raise into a possible cinch?
I think he doesn't think there's an 8-man out there either. Ace King, King 10.
King 10, 7, 6, 2 hearts.
Or a set, 3 of a kind. I think that's what we're looking at.
466,000 in the pot with a $600,000 raise.
At this point, Howard has more money involved than he'd like to. It's hard to let it go. I think he thinks he's beat. He senses that.
There's a lot of tension,
but he's got a lot of money in that pot, and he just doesn't want to let it go. But he's going to.
Howard folds. Dan Harrington wins the pot.
He's not going to show that hand either.
No.
Dan Harrington now has $2 million in chips in front of him.
Howard's feeling the pressures of this tournament now is starting to get to him.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, he's run into a very serious, very experienced Dan Harrington, who's very comfortable playing high limit. And knows all the right moves.
Howard opens the pot for 100,000.
He's going to get called.
Dan calls.
Here we go.
$206,000 pot.
They must both have high picture cards or an ace.
Eight, 6 deuce with 2 clubs.
That didn't help either one of them.
Dan checks.
Howard says, I like it.
He's got a high pair, Howard.
He's moving all in.
Howard bets about 600,000.
This is it.
Dan calls.
This is it. Dan calls.
Oh boy, yeah, I say Dan has the better hand right now.
8, 6 deuce, 2 clubs.
The flop didn't help either one of them. Well, what do they got? Oh, he's got a pair of 10s.
No, he doesn't.
$617,000 bet.
Howard has an ace 7 offsuit.
$1,440,000 pot. Dan's got an 8-9 for a pair of 8s. Howard has an ace-7. Howard needs an ace or 2 clubs.
Dan called him with top pair.
I said
Queen of spades.
Howard was just bluffing.
Howard needs an ace
Only card
to
that
stay in the
can,
tournament. Otherwise, Dan Harrington is the 1995 world champion.
The American
Here it
against
comes.
the Canadian.
Dan Harrington's
Dan
our
Harrington.
1995 world champion.
all right.
Howard Goldfarb from Toronto, Canada's runner-up.
Experience counts for something.
Why did Howard make such a tremendous bet on that hand? Here we are with Howard Goldfarb, and he's the runner-up in the World Series of Poker. You were wonderful, Howard.
Thanks, Dick.
You really were. We watched you. You made some great moves. The last move was almost sort of a bluff, wasn't it? You had
It was definitely a bluff. It wasn't really a bluff going in. Really, I was hoping he'd fold and just grab the antes.
Right.
And go on to the next hand. Once he called and the flop came up rags, I figured to once get all the chips in. I thought he'd figure I'd have an overpair or something and throw his cards in. But he made a very gutsy call with his pair of 8s.
Yeah, but did he have the pair of 8s though on the? He didn't get the pair of 8s until the flop.
He got on the flop. He had the pair.
But he
of 8s.
actually in the beginning he had an 8-9.
He had nothing. He had an 8-9 suited, sort of a come hand, hoping to hit something on the flop.
Right. Well, Jim and I were watching you. You were terrific. You were eating a lot of candy and eating potato chips, and you were very relaxed and you were in good humor all the way, right, Jim?
Yeah, I try to play in good humor.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you, Jim.
You were great.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks.
You're watching the 1995 World Series of Poker from Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll return right after these messages. Welcome back to Binion's Horseshoe Casino and the 1995 World Series of Poker.
And now we're going to turn it over to the president of Binion's Horseshoe, the man that's sitting down there with all the money to give to the winner. Here he is, Jack Binion.
Well, Dan, congratulations. Tell us kind of how the hand came up and what you were thinking and the criteria you used to make this call.
All right. Well, first of all, let me just to make it clearer to the viewers. This is the flop in the center. My opponent raised on the button, a modest raise. I called with the 9-8 of diamonds because they were suited connectors. They're together in the same suit and they produce a lot of possibilities. The flop then comes ace, 6, deuce, 8 of clubs, 6 of diamonds, deuce of clubs. I like the hand. I have the top pair of 8s, and I'm just happy with the situation. I checked. He made a substantial bet. He bet all in, and I just said that this is too big a bet for this situation, and based on prior experience with Howard, that there was a decent chance he was bluffing.
And at that point, congratulations.
Thank you.
That was the winner. Okay, very good then.
All right.
That was fascinating to hear Dan Harrington analyze that last and final hand. I tell you, I have a lot of respect for these poker players. I think if I ever needed advice, I would go to a good poker player because they have great common sense and very, very bright. What do you think, Jim?
Absolutely true. Dan made an extraordinary call. His reasoning was absolutely correct all the way through the hand. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating to watch this kind of action, knowing that there's that much at stake on every decision you make.
Right, and hearing him analyze that hand, I know, and I'm pretty sure that next year he's going to be right here at this table at the World Series of Poker at Binion's Horseshoe. So long, everybody. It was great.